Yep. What is good, y'all? Welcome to another episode of A Nerd Podcast. I am Malcolm McFadden, creator of 615 Comics, and this is episode 17, y'all. Episode 17. And whew, these episodes be a mouthful, bro. Doing a podcast by yourself is definitely a mouthful, bro. It's a lot just talking. I really wish I had like a team of people to talk to for the Yo Nerd podcast. I actually have a dope idea for Yo Nerd podcast to make it kind of like a CNN, but for nerd stuff. But I would need a whole big team and stuff like that. But for now, I'm gonna just get to talking. Talk to this camera. You feel me? Nobody from me, just this camera. So, but today I got a lot of topics to talk about. Last episode I had a lot of topics to talk about, so I definitely do for this one. And we're gonna start this one off with, man, I feel like we always start these joints off with like WB news and stuff like that, and Warner Brothers and DC Studios. I mean, they the big topic right now. So, with them talking about that, if you didn't know, it seems like Warner Brothers is about to get bought by either Paramount or Netflix. Like there is a bidding war, I guess, right now for it. And then, of course, this has sparked up a whole talk, like back when they were ready to get bought by, I think, by like Discovery or something like that. So people are talking about if Netflix buy them restoring the Snyderverse. Okay? I don't think that's going to happen. Even as a Snyder fan, I would love to see the Snyder continue, but I don't think live action that will happen. I think everybody kind of has moved on. Zack Snyder, Henry Cavill, I think Ben Affleck has definitely moved on. And if I'm not getting him as Batman, I definitely don't want the Snyderverse to continue. Like, if I'm not getting him as Batman, there's no point. There's no point for me. Like, I don't care. Like, I want the Batman versus Deathstroke movie. I think the only way that we can get the Snyderverse is animated. I think that's the only way we can get it is animated. But like I said, this has sparked up a big discussion on like if they buy it, what's going to happen. Like what is maybe Superman and all that wasn't as successful enough, and that they'll buy it. But who knows? Also, I think what's going on. This whole conversation is ready. This whole segment is ready to be just a blanket WB talk, because I actually had it broken off for something different. But I'm gonna just make this a full WB talk. All right. So with WB, that's also people also talking about Superman and stuff like that. I think in Superman's numbers and James Gunn numbers for WB, me personally, I don't typically care about numbers. I kind of just care about if it's a good product. But you know, doing these pods and people talk, and now that a lot of people are into knowing the numbers, kind of got to talk about it a little bit. People are saying, you know, that Superman didn't do as well as they wanted it to. That's why WB is going to get bought. And there's other people saying even if it did do well, it doesn't. Even if this isn't the reason that they're getting bought, that the new people may go away from it because it didn't do as well as it should have done. And then I know, and then for me, that also brings up an idea of like the media and how they've been talking about the Superman movie, and actually just James Gunn as a whole. It's kind of been very weird. It's kind of like they don't want to say that it may not have been as successful as they wanted it to be. It's like even some things you see, it kind of breeds to that. Like seeing them put out numbers like the whole run. I know people have been saying this about them saying Superman beat Man of Steel, beat all these movies domestically, and then but they weren't using the international because it was literally just bombing internationally. And I've never seen them post movies like they've done stuff I've never seen ever in media, and like sharing stuff like they posted. Like them posting the domestic numbers and not international. I've never seen them just post domestic and not international, especially for like comic book movies. And then for like Peacemaker, when Peacemaker season 2 came out, like they said 20 more, like 120% more people watched the beginning of Peacemaker than the end of Peacemaker season 1. And that was also a like a lot of these stats are kind of misleading and not, they kind of use like percentages. It seems like using percentages to kind of mislead you to think it did better than it did. Because if you look at it, Peacemaker season 1, the finale, less people watched the finale than that watched the opening of season 1 of Peacemaker. And then now they're saying that, you know, that the numbers went up for the Peacemaker season 2 intro than season 1's outro. But that's kind of misleading because less people watched the end of the Peacemaker than the people that started watching Peacemaker. So those numbers, I just seen numbers about the percentage of people that watched it on HBO Max over a percentage of people that watched Superman on another thing. Like people that watched it on HBO Max, watched Superman, on HBO Max, it was a higher percentage than people that watched it on this thing, which also turned out to be like, I think the numbers people said was that in the first 3 days of Superman on HBO Max, like 1.3 million people watched it. And just to give you a reference point, Black Adam, 1.2 million people watched it the first 3 days of that coming out on HBO Max. So people kind of saying like you did this whole Superman reboot and it didn't even do better than Black Adam coming out. You feel me? So that's something people are talking about, and I think that's also something that's very weird about this whole James Gunn run of everything, where it's like the numbers are being skewed. It's like I've seen the same thing for Zack Snyder's movies, where like I think when the Justice League movie came out HBO Max, they showed the numbers for the weekend numbers, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday for it, but never showed the Thursday number when the movie actually was released on a Thursday. So it's like they took out the whole first day because I mean, that makes sense because they didn't want to show you that this was as big of a success as it was. You feel me? Especially since they never wanted to release the Snyder Cut in the first place. So I think just seeing some of the numbers around James Gunn's DCU is very weird. So if somebody else bought WB and was kind of like, we're going away from this universe that y'all just started because does not look to be profitable, I could definitely understand that, because it seems like they're not trying to show that this universe isn't as successful as they wanted it to be. But in continuing this discussion, like I said, that my topic really was supposed to just to talk about like the fact that I don't think the Snyderverse is coming back, even as a fan. The only way I think come about is animated. And then my next segment, I was going to talk about rewatching comic book movies, because I just rewatched Aquaman. But this could easily just bring me on to my WB topic. So I wanted to talk about rewatching comic book movies, like going back and rewatching them and see if they still hold the same weight that they did when I first watched them, even though I've seen a lot of them multiple times. But like Aquaman still is great. Every time I watch it, it's kind of like underwater Star Wars at times. It's lots of adventure, great fight scenes. I love that James Wan took his horror movie style and put it to comic book styles. I think that was dope and great. But for the most part, I wanted to talk about just how WB dropped the ball. Like, I think Warner Brothers dropped the biggest ball with the whole stopping the DCEU. And then even with going away from Snyder's tone and everything, they did nothing to continue after that. Like, think about it. So after Aquaman, that's basically the cutoff of Zack Snyder about the Snyderverse. Basically, Zack Snyder dealing with DC and WB. After that, it was basically just them trying to go for a more Marvel style, and none of it worked. Shazam, I think Shazam did okay. Shazam 2 was completely trash because they doubled down on it. Every sequel within that was trash. Aquaman 2, trash. The first movie did $1 billion. I don't even know what the second one did, and nobody even talks about the second one, like, because the second one was trash. Wonder Woman 84, like, then you had the Harley Quinn movie, which was cool, but you still kind of was trying to do a Marvel rated R type thing with that. The Suicide Squad movie with James Gunn, that's Blue Beetle was cool, but it was still following that Marvel formula and all that. Like, they just literally didn't do nothing with DC after that. They went away from Scott Snyder and his whole plan to not have a plan. And even with this whole reboot, it seems like y'all reboot this whole world, and I still think it's weird that James Gunn got contracted to run DCU when all he did for Marvel was Guardians of the Galaxies, which none of those movies I feel like are even in the top of Marvel movies, MCU movies. I don't even think they're in the top. They're definitely not in the top of all-time superhero movies. Like, I don't even think they're in the top 15 or 20. And that's not even fact that even I don't even think people that like those movies would put them in the top of comic book movies of all time. So I never understood why James Gunn got on to lead all of DC, especially with his style. I don't think is good for all of DC. So that was weird to me. And then also you have this new universe that doesn't even seem to be as popular or making as much money as the universe you went away from. It's like ever since you went away from Scott Snyder, nothing has done. I mean, from Zack Snyder, nothing has done good. And it was like Zack Snyder wasn't even supposed to direct all of the movies. Like there were supposed to be other directors with their own tones for these projects taking over the movies, and they just went away from all of that. They literally cut from anything that had any remnants of Zack Snyder and his universe, and just totally did something totally new and trying to go with the Marvel formula, and it just didn't work. And it just mind boggles me. It's just like y'all had something. Maybe y'all weren't getting the critics y'all wanted, but like the critic reviews and all that, but y'all still had like, even with Suicide Squad, Harley Quinn was a big thing, was popular. Like everybody was dressing as Harley Quinn. Everybody wanted that whole Joker Harley Quinn romance, which I don't get why. But even that, they didn't continue with nothing with Joker or Harley Quinn really after that. Like you see Harley Quinn in her own movie and you see her in the Suicide Squad, but nothing with the Joker at all. Like that was weird. Like I know Harley Quinn has become more of a standout, but now you're taking her away from the thing that kind of made her a standout in the first place. So that was weird. Like everything going on after Zack Snyder, literally with WB, just hasn't made sense to me at all. And even with the Matt Reeves Batman, I think they were definitely trying to do a whole new Batman and maybe make a whole new universe with that, but Matt Reeves wanted to do his own thing. Like he wanted to make his own Batman and I have nothing to do with no other universe stuff, and I definitely get that. So yeah, this is a lot of rambling, but I really just don't get what WB is doing. So if they do get bought, I'm hoping whoever buys it actually does something and actually kind of takes the DC universe seriously, because I don't think they're taking it seriously. I don't think they're taking it seriously now, especially with Peacemaker and Superman. You start a whole universe with Peacemaker Season 1, Creature Commandos, then Superman, and then back to Peacemaker Season 2. That's weird. I don't care what nobody says. That's weird. That doesn't make sense at all. And then your universe is continuing and then after Superman, you continue the universe, but you basically say Peacemaker Season 2 is a direct sequel and before Man of Tomorrow. And so you're basically saying, okay, go from Superman to now this R-rated Peacemaker show to continue the universe, then to go back to Man of Tomorrow. Like, it just doesn't make sense. Tell me how y'all feel. I know I'm gonna get called a James Gunn hater and Snyder cultist. By means, do what you want. Do it in the comments. Hit up the comments. Let me know how y'all feel about this. Y'all think WWE is trash in DC? Okay, continuing this on. Now that we're talking about, I was just talking about rewatching Aquaman. It kind of got me onto the whole WB rant. But now I want to talk about, I just started rewatching Supernatural. I don't know if you watched that TV show. It's basically about two brothers on CW. It was a CW show about two brothers who were basically like demon and monster hunters, right? So I started watching Supernatural, and that joint has like 15 seasons, like 20 episodes per season, and it got me thinking how we really are getting away from that. How we are more into these 2 seasons, 8 episodes per season shows and stuff like that. And I really want to get back to those long shows with 15 episodes per season, 20 seasons. And I think comic book shows would be the best for that. All right, I think comic books, I think you could definitely have like how Flash did in Green Arrow, how one season would be one villain really trying to take over the city or something like that. And that is the villain that entire season. You may have little villains sprinkled in and stuff like that in different storylines within that, but I think superheroes definitely could do that. Like Batman, what if you had an entire season of Batman going up against Penguin, and then Penguin getting different gangs and stuff like that, and then that leads into maybe Joker coming out or Riddler coming out, you know, like basically how they did with Gotham. I think that comic book shows really could be the shows that give us 15 seasons, 20 episodes per season. If done right, if really done right, I think CW, even Smallville, was good like that. I think that could definitely bring those back, and I would love to see that more. And I think there's just enough material for you to do that. There's years and years and years. Like Superman goes back into what, 40s, 30s, 20s. I can't even remember when Superman first started, but there's years and years of content in comics and stuff for you to kind of build out long standing shows. Like, you feel me? Maybe 10 seasons, 8 seasons, you feel me? And then give you like 10 to 15 to 20 episodes per season. I think comic book shows could definitely do that. I think that's where we should be going. I think, especially for shows like CW, I think CW, well, not on CW, but something more like HBO Max, where you're giving us very detailed into these heroes and showing who they are. Like the Superman and Lois show, like you really had time to flesh out Superman being with his family, and I think you can do that with these comic book storylines. Like Spider-Man, a Spider-Man TV show would be fire, and I think it would be the best way to really dive into Spider-Man, especially since his rogue gallery is so deep. I think it definitely would be great for that. You feel me? Like, I'm not gonna ramble about this one too long, but that's just what I wanted to say about that. Kind of want to get people's opinions and start a dialogue about that. So how y'all feel about that? How do y'all feel about us, these 8 episode, 2 season shows per 8 episodes per season with only 2 season shows? How do y'all feel about that? And tell me in the comments. Let's talk about it. Okay, so for this segment, there's kind of a couple things I want to talk about and kind of say, and a couple things have been going on. So one thing that just happened, Marvin Jones III, he plays he was in Black Lightning, and he plays Tobias Well. He was my man that was basically ripping into Black Lightning with the insults. That man had the best black insults ever. Like, I feel like there was a racist person just sitting in the writing room like, hey, I'm ready to just get off everything I've ever wanted to say with this character. But he is now playing Tombstone, another albino character, and he will be in Spider-Man's Brand New Day. And I think that is dope. I think he'd be terrific for the character, especially since he's albino. And I think I'm hoping he basically is just the same person that he was in Black Lightning in this movie. Like, that would be fire. I'm glad for him. He's a terrific actor, great delivery with his lines, and I can't wait to see that. But this also gives me hope for the street level side of the Spider-Man movie, because they said this Spider-Man is supposed to be more grounded, and bringing Tombstone in, I think that is definitely dope. And I want to see Tombstone interact with Fisk. I want to see how that goes. I think that would be fire. But also some things going on. I mentioned it in the past recent pod about the new Undead Iron Fist. So Danny Rand is back from the dead with a new mission, and this comic actually just came out, and I was actually really disappointed in it. It just kind of, I'm not a huge Iron Fist fan, but it kind of didn't hit. Like, I was like, they bringing Danny Rand back from the dead. Let's see how this hits, especially since they had a new person take up the mantle of Iron Fist. So I don't know where he's been at lately, but I loved that storyline. It's a new Asian character who takes over Iron Fist, which I always thought Iron Fist should be Asian. So I thought that was dope. And then so reading the Undead Iron Fist, I'm like, all right, let me check this out. I read issue 1 and just didn't hit it off for me. Like, I was like, I really feel no reason to read this anymore. Like, y'all could have continued with that other Iron Fist. Maybe the books didn't sell like that. I don't know. But Daddy Rad being back just isn't for me. All right. That's what I got to say on that. This is kind of just rapid fire different topics I want to talk about, especially just dealing with comics and things like that. Also, Marvel Knights: The Worlds to Come. That hasn't been out for a minute. I don't know what's up with that book. I think I've read the first 2, and it just can continue to get worse and worse. It just continues to get worse. And if you didn't know, this is the story about Black Panther, where a white successor takes over Black Panther, who's kind of like his son, but not his biological son, his adopted son. And it takes place in the future, where it's basically dealing with the death of T'Challa, which I think that this story easily, instead of the dumb story that they gave us, this could have been Azari, like the son of T'Challa and Storm. If you remember the Avengers movie that had their kids in it, it was actually really dope. It was an animated movie, and then Black Panther Storm had a kid who had lightning powers, who could basically make like panthers out of lightning and stuff like that. So I think that they could have did Marvel Knights about his son and taking up the mantle and having powers, like storm powers, but also being the Black Panther and training to be Black Panther. They could have easily did a story about that. Easily did a story with him, but they went with this dumb white successor shock value story. And I just think that was, they continue to disrespect T'Challa, which I can go on and on for days about, but I'm not going to this time. Maybe next pod. Come back episode 18, all about ranting about Black Panther. But I just don't get why they did this, or why they felt like they needed to do this with the story when there were so many better storylines to come up with. All right, especially when they killed Storm in the storyline in like a race war, which was a choice that was stupid to me. But they did that. All right, and I don't want to rant on about that too more. To kind of end out this pod, I kind of have just another thing I want to talk about, which is kind of Static Shock. Static. A lot of people know him as Static Shock because of this show, but his real name is just Static. But it's a lot of controversy and people still talking about, will they get Static in the movies? Whenever we get more Static comics, and I think, and just to let everybody know that if you didn't know, like, Static is a Milestone character. He's owned by Milestone. I believe DC just handles his distributing or publishing. A lot of people are looking for more Static content, especially since this actually sparked up for me because the 25-year anniversary of the Static cartoon, the release of that actually just came out. Of Static Shock, the cartoon, came out 25 years ago. And so it's like, bro, that show was so popular, such a staple in the culture. Like, we should definitely get more Static, more content in the movies, which James Gunn said he was hoping to, but they have to deal with like the legal battles of it. And then so that is behind it. But we did get 2 dope Static runs, Static Season 1 and Static Season 2, which Season 2 is a perfect blend of comic book Static and animated show Static, and it's probably in my top 5 comics of all time because, of course, Static is my favorite hero. So definitely check that out if you get a chance, but I really hope we get more Static content. I remember a while ago they said that Milestone was working on an animated universe, which I hope they actually do that, but we haven't heard nothing of that since they announced that years ago. They always said they were working on a Static movie, but haven't heard nothing of that. You feel me? We still have James Gunn saying, that it's hard to do Static. But also with the Static, if we do get Static content, I think people need to full on be aware that it may change a little bit to fit the times. Because, like Static really was dealing with gang violence and stuff like that, which is still a problem, but I don't think it's much as prevalent as it was back then as it is now. You feel me? Like, I don't think that's a big talking point that people are talking about gang violence or stuff like that now, which, I mean, they could definitely still use it, but I think people need to be prepared for if they do bring Static into live action and mainstream, that they're going to change some things to make it fit the times. I think people just need to be prepared for that, because when they change some things to fit the times in the comic, people were very mad, and even though the comic still was very good, and I think, to me, very true to Static. But we're still dealing with this. We're kind of just in a waiting zone to get more Static content, which, I'm with y'all. As more updates come about, I will be posting them, anything I see. But yeah, we're kind of just waiting for more Static content. The next Static content I do know that we're getting is the team up with the Beyond Static, where older Static with Batman Beyond, which I can't wait. I always wanted more. Ever since that episode where you saw Future Justice League, you saw Static, I always wanted future Static content. I love that we're getting that now in the comics. There was a little mini of which Batman Beyond and Static teamed up, but now we're getting a full team up book of them together. So be on the lookout for that. I can't wait for that, man. That should be dope. But that'll be all I have for y'all today for the A Nerd Podcast, episode 17. Thank y'all for supporting and watching. And please like, comment, and if you haven't, subscribe to the channel. and then tell your friends about me. All right? Thank y'all.